Everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Talk.
Yes.
All right, so we got a fun slide up here. I'm going to have to step away so that I can actually see it.
You're
But-
echoing.
I'm echoing.
You're echoing.
I'm echoing. I'm not sure I know how to take an echo out. How is that? Is that better? No. All right. We may have to live with it. All right. So if you can go to the next slide for us, thanks. I'll just keep pushing it down. All right. See if that's better. All right. So you can't see this, but what is your favorite Christmas cookie? And I saw this on USA Today, and I said, oh, this is really a fun slide. And so we've got it in a way that you actually will be able to read it.
Well, it's not up here.
And so here it is by state. So if you're from Florida, the favorite Christmas cookie in Florida is the Hershey's Kiss Christmas cookie. And now this information comes from Google, and what Google did is they went and tracked the number of inquiries that they receive in the month of December about specific Christmas cookies, and then they overlaid it to a geographic location. And so you can see, for instance, my home state, Texas, they're Googling Christmas cookie ice cream.
Oh.
So they evidently don't like cookies. They want the ice cream. If you are from California, you're looking at Snoopy Christmas cookies. I don't even know what a Snoopy Christmas cookie is, but I'm sure it's delicious. So there's your Tennessee Christmas cookie fudge.
Yes. Sounds good.
There are a lot of trending is the look at how many keto Christmas cookies are up there.
And gluten.
Gluten-free, that's a new one this year, I think.
Italian Christmas cookies.
Snowball cookies out of Michigan, that would make sense. So anyway, we'll include that in the Tuesday Talk summary so that you can look and see from your state what your cookie is. All right, next slide. Just a quick update. We did have a new COVID case over the weekend. It was over in skilled nursing. It was a staff member. We have completely tested all of the staff, and we have tested the residents, and so far everyone is negative. So it really is a little too early to say with 100% certainty that we've contained the spread. As you will recall, it's 3 to 5 days after exposure before the next person will become contagious. And so the exposure happened on Friday or Saturday. So we'd be looking at worst case scenario, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then we should see if there's an exposure, we'll see some outbreaks between Tuesday and tomorrow. So we'll just keep you up to date as that progresses. Knock on wood, we think it's contained. There was no exposure or trans exposure between the buildings, and so we're not worried about independent living at all. And at this point, we're not recommending any additional measures for residents in the independent living. We think this is isolated and contained to the skilled nursing.
Line dancers are supposed to dance over there this afternoon.
We think that's probably fine, and it was a staff member. It wasn't a resident. We've tested everybody. Everybody is negative, and so the other thing that you know is in the contagious in days 1 through 3 before you become symptomatic, you may be positive, but you're not contagious, and so we feel like it's safe today. It maybe wouldn't be safe Wednesday, but it's probably safe today. And so we just will follow the science and do our calculations and try to make sure that we will be sure that it doesn't spread outside of the skilled nursing center. Great question. No other, we're not recommending any other precautions here in the independent living. We don't need to start wearing our mask or practice social distancing, or we're not going to shut anything else down. The positivity rate here in Pinellas County is still very, very good. It's 2.7. Last week it was 2.6. And so it's up just a smidge, but that's not a significant increase, and it continues to be very, very low. And the flu continues to be far more prevalent than COVID. There are more people in the hospital because of flu than there are COVID right now. So we'll take that. It's a really good news. There we go. Most important thing that you can do as we enter into the flu season, whether you have flu or COVID or can't distinguish between the two of them, if you are feeling sick, tell somebody. Call and let Leslie know. Call and let the front desk know. Call and let us know so that we can get up there and help you make the determination as to whether you are suffering flu symptoms or COVID symptoms, and we can take the appropriate and necessary action to make sure that you're going to be well taken care of. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is self-quarantine. If you are feeling ill, you're running a fever, you have a runny nose, whether it's flu or COVID, self-quarantine. Don't go to the dining room that night. Don't spread this. And so that's the one thing that we want to emphasize and focus on going into the flu season is if you're feeling under the weather, tell someone and stay at home until we can figure out what's going on and make sure that you're getting treated. Okay, and so the majority of our presentation today, and I'm going to have I'm going to have Don stand up and join me here. We're going to be talking, next slide. We're going to be talking about the Regency Oaks objectives for 2021. And as you will recall, every year we develop a set of objectives, and this is in conjunction with the resident board of directors and then the key staff. We coordinate it and put them together. We call them rose holders. And so the first of every year we roll out the 5 objectives that we would like to accomplish this year to make sure that we drive Regency Oaks forward and that we're focused on our mission and being able to improve services and quality of life for our residents. At the end of the year, we always come back and we do a recap, and we ask that residents hold us accountable, because this is something at the first of the year we said this is important to us. We've come up with a plan, we've laid it out, we've shared it with you, and now we're coming back and saying here's how we did. So this is sort of our report card back to the residents on our goals and objectives for 2021. Want to add anything?
That's very good, Brad.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Time to tell you how we've been doing on the 2021 objectives. And I guess we better start off telling you what the 2021 objectives were. That might be good, okay? And so that's what the first couple of charts are. Notice the first objective talks about ensuring that in the COVID environment that we retain the health of all of our residents first. And that was important. And I think Brent and the staff did a damn good job on that. And so I would say that for that objective, community-wise, we as residents and Brent and staff did a great job. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about each one of these as we go along. Second, we're up from, as you'll see, COVID has done one thing for us. We've improved our communications, and we're going to tell you about that as we go along here. Next chart, we're working with Health Peak and LCS Third objective, to focus on campus expansion. We're trying to keep the residents updated. It's pretty hard, but we're getting there. And fourth, we're implementing extraordinary impressions. This is the LCS First Impressions program, and we're hoping to get the LCS Regency Oaks culture to reflect the 10 hospitality promises of the country. Of the company, excuse me. And improve the residents' dining experience. It's been a tough year. COVID in, COVID out. But we're getting there, and we're going to talk some more about that. Okay. Brad, you got this one.
All right, so the first objective was to return to normal. And so as Don mentioned, it's been a sort of difficult year. I was reading a statistic just the other day, and it said that, and this is globally here in the United States, that we had more cases of COVID in 2021 than we did in 2020. And that sort of surprised me. It's not something that I had realized. And you think about what happened here at Regency Oaks. We got through 2020 and had a pretty good year. And back in November of 2020, we had reopened. And we had to shut down briefly in December, and then we reopened in January. And then from January through July, life was pretty good at Regency Oaks. We had full staff, and we didn't have COVID, and we had gone 30 some odd weeks without a COVID case, and everything was reopened, and life was back to normal, and we were living pretty high on the hog. And then August came along, and a new variant, a Delta variant. It hit us pretty hard. It hit us hard in the independent living and also over at the health center. And so we had to immediately shut down and go through that reopening process again, and started to reopen at the end of September, 1st of October, which is also the time that we made the decision that in order to protect our residents, every single staff member who works at Regency Oaks is going to have to be vaccinated. All of our residents are vaccinated. We wanted to make sure we had that same level of commitment from our staff. Some of our staff didn't make it. We lost a number of staff, and we're in the process of still working to recover that today. What do I want residents to know about Objective 1? The first thing and the foremost thing in my mind is the restrictions that we have in place now. They are not related to COVID. They're related to staffing. And so the restrictions in housekeeping, where it's every other week, the tavern not open for dinner, we're having to do buffets instead of sit-down dining in both of our dining rooms. That's because of staffing. It's not because of COVID. If we had the staff, we'd be completely reopened and back to normal. And so that's why every week we continue to report back to you on how are we doing with our staffing, what's the progress looking like. We continue to make progress. You remember that last week we were projecting a net gain of 5. We ended up with a net gain of 5. We didn't have any separations last week. We have 3 people in foundations today. So those numbers continue to improve week over week. The trend lines are looking exactly like we would like them to look. But what we also know is it's because we had so many vacancies to fill, it's not going to happen overnight. This is not a solution that's going to take weeks. It's going to take months. And people have asked, and I've been pretty consistent in my response, I'm not anticipating that we're going to be back to full staff until the end of the first quarter. And so it's the trend line is good. We're continuing to make progress. As we add additional staff, we are beginning to loosen some of the restrictions. You can now get a hamburger and a sandwich in the dining room. You now have the tavern open for breakfast and lunch. And so as we get additional staff, we're trying to take away some of those restrictions so that we can get back to where we are.
Ask a question.
Sure.
Are the hiring restrictions subject
Oh, hold on, I didn't do number 2 or 3. You want me
That's
to
right, you didn't do campus expansion yet.
I didn't do 2 either. You want me-
All right, we'll do 2 and 3.
I'll do 2 and 3. All right. So improved communication. So, boy, what a big jump this is. And so if you go back to the last time we surveyed all the residents, to this particular question, the response was 30% of the residents said, yeah, they do a great job with communication, or they do a pretty good job with communication. That number is up to almost 78%. And so that has been a significant improvement for us, and we've also focused a lot of our energy on that. And so Tuesday Talk, we've seen the crowd size grow, from pre-pandemic, where we used to have 10, 15, maybe 20 people here, and we held it in the 2 lobbies. So combining it and putting it into the town hall seems to have made a difference. And this has become a very good means of sharing information with residents and allowing dialogue to exist. 732 has made a big difference as well, and we've developed our own in-house videographer and director of all things 732 related. She has just done a great job in being able to take the venues that are important to residents, whether it's ROVA or a forum or the Tuesday Talk, and get it out on 732 so that we're able to actually reach people that we weren't previously reaching. And Regency had always had a practice of every time we communicated something, we tried to communicate it 5 different ways. And we identified 11 different means that we communicate, and it's the elevator, it's the Monday news event, it's the newsletter, it's the postings, it's the whiteboard, it's the flyers in your mailboxes. And so we tried to communicate something 5 ways every single time. But 732 has been the game changer, and there was in our communication committee, when we were looking at this, we defined the various means of communication, and we created a triangle. And up at the top was, the least effective means of communication is one-on-one. I would tell Jean, and Jean would tell Linda, and Linda would tell Judy. That's not a very effective means of communication. And then all the way down at the bottom was TV, that we broadcast directly into your apartment so that you have the latest, greatest, and most current news. So we've seen some improvement there. Next year, we will, I'll come back and talk about that at another slide. We have another slide on this one. Campus expansion. New town hall to begin construction in January. On the 22nd of December, there is a pre-construction meeting here at Regency Oaks. So we will have the contractor, all the subs, the interior designer, the architect, everyone related to this project is going to be here for the pre-construction meeting. It's an all-day meeting. Out of that will come 2 things that are important to residents. And the first is we'll have a construction start date. And then the second thing is we're going to have a construction timeline. Now that's really important, because at this meeting, that's when we're going to define how long is the tavern going to be shut down and what are the dates? How long will the woodworking shop and the arts and crafts room be shut down, and what are their dates? Same thing for the fitness center. This building is staying, it's just all new finishes. This building is not going to be shut down for the entire length of the project. So that information will come out of the meeting on the 22nd, and we'll come back and share that information with residents. I am still working before the start of construction to get this team back in front of the residents to do a presentation and share with you what their plans are. So I'm looking to do that. It's just very difficult to get all these people together during the Christmas and the New Year holiday. Campus expansion. We have not given up on campus expansion. That is still something that I'm committed to, that Sherry is committed to, Chris Bird. It's going to be a hard sell this year. It's in our capital budget. I don't think it's going to get funded. And here's the perspective that the owners are likely to have. Here in the Peak portfolio, there are 13 assisted living communities and maybe 10 memory care units throughout the portfolio. The vast majority of them are sitting at 50% occupancy, just like ours. And it's not that we can't fill them, it's that we can't staff them. And so if I'm, from a business perspective, if I'm going to come and invest $34 million in building an assisted living or memory care unit on the campus here at Regency Oaks, this is not the environment that I would choose to do it in, because I'm never going to make, it's not going to be successful if I can't get above 50% occupancy. And so it's a staffing issue. And so until we see this staffing issue addressed and resolved at a global level across the United States, which is where Peak operates, I don't anticipate that they're going to be making huge financial investments to expand and develop assisted living and memory care, because they aren't going to build something that they can't fill. Now, that's the baseball team down in St. Pete did that, but I don't think Peak is going to do that.
Okay.
Pete did it.
Next chart, please. All right, let's talk about Objective 4 a little bit. Objective 4, remember, was to implement extraordinary impressions. And we had a little bit of a tough job getting that going, but on the next chart, I'm going to show you, well, back up one, okay? We'll get to that in just a little bit. Talk a little bit more about extraordinary impressions, but we've done some other things. We've recognized the Associate of the Month. We've recognized the resident quarterly recognition. And so we've done reasonably good on this. COVID's had an impact on it, but we did pretty good. Now the next chart shows you extraordinary impressions and what we've done with regard to recognizing employees and anniversaries and birthday awards and recognition for perfect attendance and staff referrals and all that stuff. And so this is working out real well. We're going to continue it, of course, into next year and continue to recognize our best employees and recognize the people in our residency who are contributing to our great community. So we'll continue to see more of this and continue to carry it on until 2022.
So I'll just jump in here and add one thing. And so, when we think about staffing, there's recruitment of new associates and there's retention of our older associates. And so this is our recruitment, our retention program. It's designed for our existing associates, and it's a rewards program. And so here's the way that works. Many of you probably had this in companies where you work. You get a catalog, and you can get a new ham radio for 2,000 points, or a new turkey fryer for 500 points. And whether you get a catalog, and whatever your interest is or wants are, there's something in that catalog that you might find attractive. And we've set up an awards program so that every month or every time we have a caught card or a recognition moment or a drawing at an all-staff meeting, we're contributing and allowing you to get additional points. And so this has been pretty successful. We started experimenting with it back in February. We really didn't kick the whole thing off until just mid-November, but it's been well received by the associates, and we think this is going to be a successful retention program for our long-term associates. As we talk about the strategy on how Regency Oaks gets back to full staffing, it's building upon our long-serving, dedicated, loyal associates that are the backbone of what we do. They're at the heart of it. And that's why the Employee Gift Fund was such a important part of that process, is that recognition that residents give to our associates for their hard work and their efforts and caring for you really makes a difference. And so thank you for your generosity. Robin and her team just did an outstanding job this year and it is such an essential cog of retaining our long-term associates and making sure that that's the success we're going to build on in the coming years.
Okay, next chart, please. All right, Brent, you got this one, okay?
Okay, so number 4, we just did. That's a carryover because we inserted a slide. So we're going to go to number 5, improve resident dining experiences and implement the 1 meal a day program. All right, so this is real confusing. So I'm going to go back and put everything in context. You'll remember that in January of 2020, we rolled out the 1 meal a day program, and it was going to be effective sometime in March. And then on February 18th, along came COVID, and our dining program hasn't quite been the same since. And so that's the first thing that you need to understand is that the 1 meal a day program, it's sitting there, it's ready to be implemented, but we're not going to be able to move forward with it until all of our restaurants are back open. I need the alfresco dining, the tavern, Bella Row, the grill on the breezeway, the Regency room, the north and the south dining room. I need all of that to be open in order to really truly implement the meal of the day program. So if you give me, if you ask me, well, what's your target date? I don't know. It's soon. It's coming soon. So it's staff driven, and when I have enough staff that we can implement that program so that it makes sense, that's when we're going to roll it out. Now, we are also a learning organization. And so in January of 20, when we rolled it out, there was a lot of angst from residents who were upset and felt like something was being taken from them. So we've learned from that experience, and we're not going to roll it out the same way. It's going to be a very clean rollout. You will have a choice. If you like the program you're on, stay with it. That's fine with us. We don't think it's the better of the two programs, but if you are married to it, we want you to have a long marriage, and we're not going to force you into the divorce court. So if you like your program, stay with it. The new program has distinct advantages, and we're going to put them on a board and show you all the pros and cons, and then we're going to let you make your decision. You can stay with what you have, or you can jump over to the new program. It's going to be entirely your choice. And so I'm not anticipating that we're going to get the pushback that we did the first time, because we're not asking you to do or to give up anything. If you love what you're doing, stay with it. If you want to jump into the new program because you recognize it's far superior, you're welcome to do that as well. So the one thing that did change January 1st, and it's not really related, when we talk about the meal of the day program, what we currently have is what's called a Bistro Daily Credit Program. That's the official name. If you go into your contract, it will say the Bistro Daily Credit, Daily Meal Credit. And that meal credit is $10. That's the revenue side of the equation. And so that has not been changed. That it's still there, it hasn't been impacted, there's been no change to it. Where the change has occurred is on the other side of the coin, on the expense side. So we have, effective January 1, moved the cost of the meal, not your credit, the cost of the meal from $7.50 to $9. Now, that's the first increase in 32 years. And everyone knows what's happening with raw food, with inflation. You can't go to McDonald's and get a burger, fry, and a Coke for $7.50. And so that adjustment is effective January 1st. The 1 meal a day program option is not going to be effective until we return to full service. Does that make sense? Did I not cover anything? And are there any questions about this program?
Yes. Are you increasing the cost on holidays? Are you increasing the cost of meals on holidays in January?
Great question. Anyone know, if you just did that, did it go up? Do you know what it went up to?
I don't remember off the top of my head, give me a second.
All right, we're going to look that up for you. So back in October, we gave you advance notice that the ancillary service brochure that will be available to you on January 1st is their ancillary services go up. We go up on the ancillary services every January 1st. There are 400 items in the ancillary service catalog, and the vast majority of them went up. And so she's going to look up specifically for holiday meals, but yes, it probably went up, and the ancillary services will be available for you. You can stop by and pick up a brochure after the first of the year. That's when we typically publish it.
Yes, ma'am, coming back to you. Good morning.
I'm not sure I completely understand what you're saying. The meals will be $9, but have you raised what we will be getting? In other words, we will not be able to save anything to use at the tavern.
That's correct. And so here's the advantage of the Bistro credit. It allows you to have 21 days. And there are some residents, this was the original intent, there are some residents who only eat here 20 days a month. They go to their families every Sunday for dinner. They still enjoy going out, and they may eat out a couple of nights a week. Occasionally, they'll go over and have dinner and cards with a neighbor. And so they don't eat 30 meals a day on a 30-day month. They only eat 20. And so we tried to present an option to them where if you're not in our dining rooms every day, that makes perfect sense. And so we had a 21-day meal plan. You got to use the days when you were here. So if you were here for 5 or 6 or 7 days, you could use them 7 in a row. If you missed for 4 or 5 days, that was okay because the days carried over from day to day within the month. And so that was the purpose of the 21-day plan. Now, many people like to take that extra $2.50, the difference between the cost of the meal and the Bistro credit, and they would apply it to go down to the tavern. They would apply it to, get a steak out on the breezeway. You will still be able, if you're on that program and you stay with that program, you will still be able to do it. But the differential is not as great as it was because now the cost is $9, not $7.50. So you're only going to lose that $1.50. And so it's not quite as generous as it was, but you still have the ability, if you're on the 21-day plan, to pick up those extra dollars so that you can occasionally go to breakfast or lunch or add an upgrade. And so it has that flexibility. What the new programs will not allow you to do is to buy 21 meals and eat 30. And that's what this program will stop. And so the meal of the day program is going to be, I think you'll like it because it opens up dining opportunities across the campus. And so we'll have more on it, but again, it's really difficult to talk to you about how that's going to look when we don't have the rest of our dining facilities open.
I don't have it on this computer.
We don't have it on this computer. We'll try to look that up for you and give you a heads up in the Tuesday Talk Bulletin.
All right. Next chart, please. Now, where are we going for next steps? Well, COVID's going to be around still in 2022, so it's going to impact our lives, and we're going to have to continue to adjust and keep ourselves safe. We're beginning work on the 2022 objectives, and as a matter of fact, from here we're going to be going up to a planning luncheon where we're going to discuss 2022 objectives and begin to roll them out, to the residents. And so that's where we are right now, and we're going to adjust the team planning as required, and we'll get the 2022 objectives out to you sometime in March. Did you want to add anything to that, Charlie?
So just one clarification, we will share the 2022 objectives with you the 1st of January, because that's always been our commitment, we get them to you right away. What we will come back in March is share the objectives and our rose holders and what our partners have come up with in terms of the objectives and how we're going to accomplish and move those objectives forward.
Okay. Next chart, please. Let's have some questions and comments from our distinguished audience, please.
I'd like to add one.
Get this lady right here first. Excuse me, Bill.
It's okay.
My question is, are our salaries competitive with like situations? With like residents?
Well, okay, yeah, I can answer that. So we had 3 increases this year.
Thank you.
We did a March increase, we did a mid-summer increase, and we did another increase in October. We drove our weighted average rate, that's the weighted average employment wage, up by $2 an hour. And it didn't make a darn bit of difference. Next year, I have 3 raises scheduled as well. I have $500,000 that I'm going to do in January, I have $235,000 I'm going to do in March, and I have about $50,000 that I'm going to do in September. So I'm going to invest more than $800,000 in higher wages, and it's not going to make a damn bit of difference. And so here's,
In the higher rate?
it's not going to make any difference. It's going to keep us competitive, but this is not about wages, and we've done enough of this to know. All 13 of the communities did $300,000 to $500,000 increases last year for our associates. It just didn't work, because if you make 10 and I raise you to 13, what's my competition going to do?
Raise.
They're going to raise you to 15. And I raise you to 15, what is my competition going to do? They're going to raise you to 17. And so that's what's happening. So there are 2 things that we have to do in order to break this cycle. And the first is to make sure our government officials and representatives understand that they are driving a lot of the problem. So here's the latest statistic on this. 11.4 million unemployed people in America, 56% of them will only consider jobs if they can work from home. 56%? Yeah. How is that going to work in our industry? That's not going to work at all. And so what's happening is we're changing in terms of the employment base and the people who will work and want to work. The second thing that the government has to do is we've got to stop the stimulus and unemployment craziness. So I'm advertising, now just FYI, I'm advertising for a position that pays $80,000 a year. I had 3 people, all professionals, all with master's degree, apply for the position. They ghosted me. They didn't show up for an $80,000 a year position. Why is that?
They have to come here.
So here's why. It's more lucrative for them and more in fitting with their lifestyle to stay home and collect the unemployment, get the stimulus upgrades, and do that and be able to reside from home and get a minimum amount of income, enough to keep them in the lifestyle that they want, and then to come to work. And so we're going to have to face that, and we're going to have to deal with that. Now, the other key component of our program, and this is where I think it's different, this is the differentiator. We don't believe wages is the answer. We've got to stay competitive. We're going to stay competitive. We pay competitive wages now. But people will leave for a nickel and go down the street. We're going to continue to pay competitive wages. But the real issue is, what can we do to make us different than the competition? There are 100 skilled nursing, independent living, assisted living communities in our 5-mile SMA. 100 of them that we're competing against for the same employee. How do we get them to come here as opposed to one of the competitors? And the difference is going to be in our culture. We want to promote our culture that this is a great place to work. We have a lot of benefits to working here at Regency Oaks. We're looking at daycare, free daycare, taking area on our campus and devoting it to daycare and providing it to residents for free. Why? Because no one else is doing that. And how many single or married, how many mothers do we have that if we were providing free daycare would find Regency Oaks an attractive place to work? We're looking at expanding our meal program for our associates. So right now they get this incredible discounted meal. It's, I don't know, it's a 50, 75 cents for a meal. They can eat anything they want, but it's leftovers. What if we gave them, hey, you're here, when you're hungry, you eat anything you want. Go to one of our restaurants, ask for whatever it is you like. That's not done in any other community in our SMA. And so those are the kind of things that are going to make us different and help us stand out, because that's what's going to drive the competitive wage market in the future. It's not the wages, it's going to be the benefits and the perks that make this a great place to live. And so we're focused on doing both. We're going to pay a competitive wage, but we also are trying to change the culture and the environment at Regency Oaks to attract millennials and younger workers. It's critical.
You're on the right track.
Yeah.
Bill, you got a question?
Well, I made some comments earlier, and I just want to clarify something, because I think that I don't deal with innuendos or rumors. I'd just like to read something for everybody's edification, and let them form their own opinions. This is Dateline WESH in Orlando, December 3rd, 2021. Advent Health will no longer require employees to get the COVID vaccine. The hospital made the announcement after a federal court ruled the federal government couldn't enforce such mandates. In a statement released by Advent Health, the hospital says it will no longer mandate the COVID vaccine for employees after a federal court blocked the Biden administration from enforcing such mandates earlier this week. I don't want to have it, that's all I want to say.
Yeah. No, absolutely true. And so there have been 9 states that have challenged it. All 9 states have won. Florida is not one of the states, so I don't know where Advent is located in their corporate offices. Well, so then I think they're far riskier than we're willing to do.
Daycare has as well.
Yeah. Right now, the federal mandate is that if you accept Medicare dollars, you are required to vaccinate your employees. That's our position. We are not moving off that position. We think it's the right thing to do for our residents. We're going to run a safe, clean environment for residents here at Regency Oaks. But thank you for your comments.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Bill, you got a question?
I just have one question. Grant, your ideas on with your programs, it really sounds good as far as the employees and go in the daycare. When do you plan on implementing them, putting them in?
So great question. We have, they're all under various stages of development, and so our daycare is probably the one that is the longest lead time. We started the process back in October, and so in the state of Florida, you have to have a licensed daycare. We don't have the opportunity like some churches. If you bring kids in, you can run the kids up to like a Sunday school while the parents go to church. That's not something that will work in our environment. It's going to have to be a licensed agency. So we have all the rules and regulations. We've looked at them and think that we can adapt our facilities to do that. but we're gonna have to go through a process. And so we have to write policies and procedures and make the application and go through certification, and we've got to find a director. It's a pretty lengthy process. But if all goes well, by March, April, we hope to be up and running.
How many kids do you think you will have?
I would like to have 100, because if that's at least 100 workers.
I've been flying for months.
Where is this? Okay, thank you.
The rust on the piping in the pool is for months. The rust is pitting the railing in the pool. And I've been promised it's going to be taken care of for months. Doesn't happen.
Let me take care of that for you. You'll make a note of that. I'll follow up, make sure it gets done, John.
Yes, ma'am, good morning.
Grant, where's this daycare gonna be located?
So, great question. We're thinking that the old HR office, which is the only apartment that has an exterior door and walkway to the roadway, might be a great first start. And so it would allow us to convert that space. It would create a separate entrance where parents could drop them off without having to drag them through the community. And then we would look for opportunities during the day to get the sort of like the Montessori concept, where we'd be able to engage residents with young kids, whether it's in singing groups or play or those kind of functions. But that's what we're thinking initially. And that's S105, 10 something, Margaret says.
Where my office right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we used
All
to,
right, any other questions?
we used to read to children
Yes.
at the Y.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we could
yeah.
do that here.
Yeah, we think residents, there are residents who would really enjoy interacting with young kids and would like to help.
Have you looked into transportation for employees?
Yes, yeah.
I've talked to somebody that was here to apply for a job, and they said it was too far to walk from
Yeah,
Sunset and 19.
yeah. And so we are looking at trying to run one of our vans down to the little bus shelter, because it's not bad on a beautiful day like this, but if it's hot or raining or humid, you're wet and nasty by the time you get to work. And so having a bus right there at our change of shifts, that would make a lot of sense.
All right,
Brand, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How many impressions cards do you get in a month?
So across the campus, including our skilled nursing, we probably get somewhere in the neighborhood of 40, 45.
Probably 75.
That high?
75.
We get a lot of them.
Okay.
That's not enough. I know there's enough people doing a good job, so we need to put more of them in.
Absolutely. You never have enough. And those are so powerful. We take them and read them at all staff, and so we'll all be gathered, and the department manager will come up and say, "Hey, Judy, stand up and read a clock card in front of all her peers and give her that recognition," and they just, they beam with that personal recognition. So you're absolutely right. We cannot get enough clock cards. Thank you.
all right. Any other questions, please? Well, thank you all for coming.
I'm sorry.
Hope you found the
Oh,
presentation
hold on.
interesting.
Hold on.
Tiffany's coming.
Well, you got some.
Just a reminder that we do have the staff play. We have our first showing at 4 o'clock, second showing at 5:45. We have seen that some people put their name on the back of the sheet. We are going to do our absolute best to get as many residents in the town hall as possible. But if you did sign your name on the back of the sheet, if you could take a look at the later time and see if you could put yourself on there. But we are jammed packed.
Both of them have them on the back.
Yes, they are. But we are looking to have at least 120 residents in the town hall. So per showing, that's 240 residents. So no one should be turned away, but we just want to let you know that if you have signed your name on the back, we are doing our absolute best to make sure we can get everyone in the town hall for each showing.
Are we gonna be checked in at the door?
When you start seating?
4,
Is there
4 and 5:45.
We can't come in early, seating at 4?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How are you gonna get that many people in here to eat?
We had 120 the last time we had to play. Everyone ate and drank.
And that's.
Yes, ma'am. Yep,
Now,
with
But
tables.
I've had that.
Checking us off at the door to make sure we were.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've had that question as well, so this is not dinner, it's heavy appetizers, like what
Correct.
you'd see on a cocktail party. And we had Ricky get larger plates. So you'll be able to get a larger amount and take it to the table and not have to get back up a second
But
time.
we've always had 120 residents in here, so we can assure you that 240 residents will watch the show.
A couple of quick questions. Number one, you said we cannot come in here till 4 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
Number two, is the food and cocktails gonna be in the tavern and
Yes.
we walk through and?
Correct. So you will walk through the tavern, get your beverage, your food, and then sit down in here.
But the doors will not open here till 4?
Correct. Doors will not open until 4, and then they will not open again until 5:45. Everyone will have ample time to get their food, take a seat before the show starts. Perfect. We'll see you at the Grinch.